Good morning. I don't know if this is on, but just wait a little bit. Good morning. I'm so glad to be here with you this morning. I read a great article. I've been reading several of them of how the U.S. kennels are experiencing, some of them are experiencing emptiness, meaning that there are no animals in them to keep them. What they did was in the beginning of this coronavirus outbreak, they had a word go out to the community asking people to adopt pets or be foster parents for some of the pets during this crisis. So a lot of people responded to that so that the kennels are, these shelter homes for rescue dogs and cats um, became empty. So that's just such a good news. And I bring that up because um, I'm going to bring back the story of Noah, and it says in Genesis 6:8 that Noah was a righteous man. Genesis 6:9, and we always assume that because his righteousness comes from the fact that he obeyed God and he lived blameless in the midst of violence that was on earth, and he was able to build this ark. But I want to highlight another aspect of righteousness that was right in front of our eyes that perhaps that other people have oversaw. That his righteousness also included his care and help of for these helpless creatures. That God saw in him that he had a heart for those who are most vulnerable of his creatures. And that's why Noah was chosen. Not that it's a kind of a historical thing, but it's a kind of an allegorical or mythological story that tells us about the nature of God and what humans should strive to do in order to be in right relationship with one another, with God. And this story clearly tells us what is the right relationship that we have with one another and with God is that we have a heart of taking care of those who are the most vulnerable. And in this case, Noah was taking care of the animals. Now, also, there's a part about Noah that we don't fully appreciate is that God gave a Noahic covenant with Noah, which my Jewish friends have pointed out, this is a covenant God gives to all humans. It wasn't just for the Jews, but it's all humans. And one of the covenantal relationship was that with Noah, this is the first time that humans are able to eat flesh, meaning that they are able to eat animals. And it's a complex story of how humans are eating animals here, but it kind of sums it up in just one neat story. In that first, God allows it through a human being that really took care of them. There was a respect for them. There was a care for them. There was tenderness for them. There was this benevolence for them, meaning that instituting this eating of flesh was God did it through a most kindest person who showed favor to animals, which is a lesson for us. Second thing was that Noah wasn't able to eat everything. Noah was only told to eat the clean animals, and there were only few. There were only few clean animals, which tells us that God is instructing us through the Bible that there is a limitation to our diet, and there's a limitation to the way we should look at to animals. That only certain one of them could be consumed for food. And then third thing is that most people don't realize that many temples were kind of like a slaughterhouse. Ancients did not believe in killing animals outright. They thought it was an act of respect that they would give thanks to their deity, and under that sacred moment, they would slaughter the animals and they would give portion to the deity, and they would keep some to themselves. And we see that in Noah. And I mention all this because as I'm making around the call to some of the members of our church, and what I hear is that their pets have been a very good companion to them, that they have been keeping them, in company, and, there's something to look forward to, taking them for a walk, getting exercise, and such things as that. And I thought that was just a tremendous kind of mutual benefit that we got from our pets. And somehow I thought, oh, you know what? The righteousness of God may not be has to do something grander, like, going across sea and sacrificing yourself for some, people over there, or, that's great if that's done, and I have nothing against that. But it starts from the basics of human condition, where we are able to sympathize with uh, beings that cannot communicate, who are 100% dependent on us. They're vulnerable, and we have this tender relationship where we give love to them and they give love to us. And when we look at this almost a frightful story of Noah, we have to kind of walk away saying, okay, there's some moral lesson that's teaching us, is that Noah was righteous because he had this tender heart for these helpless creatures. And God chose such a person and their family to save these creatures. And I want to encourage you during this time, if you don't have a pet, I'm sorry, but if you do have a pet, continue to care for them and continue to be cared by them. And you know that that's part of God's plan, is to uh, make our hearts tender and sympathetic and loving for those who are um, in need of our care. Well, thank you for joining us today. Here's a prayer that I want to share with you. I think it's one of the prayers of St. Francis. It says this: "O Lord, what a variety of things you have made. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Here is the ocean, vast and wide, teeming with life of every kind, both large and small. They all depend on you to give them food as they need it. When you supply it, they gather it. You open your hand to feed them, and they're richly satisfied. When you give them your breath, life is created. When you renew the face of the earth, may your glory of the Lord continue forever. The Lord takes pleasure in all that he has made." Amen. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm so glad you are here, and I will talk to you real soon. Thank you.